Hello everyone, Mr. Schultz here for Integrated Math 2, and we're diving into Module 6.1, which is measurements, or if you can read it, formulas. Make sure your name is in the top right-hand corner, your first and last, and that the date is there, as well as your period number. All right, here we go. So the first thing we have to do is we have to write down the formula for the area of a circle. So the area of a circle is pi r squared. Pi times the radius squared. Now the radius is half of the diameter, halfway all the way across, or from the center to the edge, just one edge from the center to the edge. So looking at this, I understand I can write out my formula, area equals pi r squared. Well, now I'm going to substitute. Instead of pi, I'm going to put 3.14. And instead of r squared, I'm going to put 11.7 miles squared. And this is the area. So if I took out my calculator and I show the work, 3.14 times 11.7 squared, I get 429.83, and this will actually round up twice and make this 429.84. So 429.84. So the area of the circle is equal to that. But area is actually counting up all the little squares in here. Maybe there's half a square, maybe there's a quarter of a square. But counting up every single square inside here, and they're uniform, not like silly little drawn squares that don't look like squares that Mr. Schultz does. So when we're talking about this, we're not talking about miles, we're talking about square miles. So that's how many square miles, about 430 little squares inside here. All right, let's go on to the next one. So once again, the first thing we do is we write down our formula. Now the formula for a circle is pi r squared. So I'm going to have 3.14 and I'm going to have 4 yards. And so the area will equal 3.14 times 4 yards squared. So sometimes I don't need to use the calculator. So this is going to be 16 yards squared times 3.14. Well, now I'm going to get to the territory of, hey, can't do this in your head anymore. Try again. So I'm going to have 16 times 3.14. I hit enter. And let me show you just what happens if we actually multiply it by pi. For the most part, it's going to be about the same. So here's the pi symbol right here. 16 times 3 pi. It's 50.265. So yeah, it's going to be a little off, but that's okay. Normally we'd go to like the thousandths place, and that will be fine. So if you put 3.14, it'll be easier for everybody. So I get 50.24. So let's write it in, 50.24. But wait, once again, it's yards, but it's square yards. So this last one right here, we're going to see that, hey, it's 12 miles, the diameter all the way across. So that's actually the radius is equal to 6 miles. So that's going to be the area is equal to pi r squared, which is 36 square miles times 3.14. So let's get the answer and write it in. All right, I got 113.04. But wait, what did I make a mistake in? See if you can catch it. In 3, 2, 1. It's square miles. So we put miles squared. So going on to the next part, the area of parallelograms or the area of rectangles, or the area of squares, is going to be nice. The area is equal to the base times the height. I know some people would say, hey, it's the area of a square is the side times itself, but no, just you should remember this. The area of a parallelogram, which a square is base times height. So the area of this is equal to the base times its height. Now remember, the height is straight up. If we're going to measure you, we're going to measure you from your toes all the way to your head. Now, you're not going to like lean and measure from like, and measure that way. You want to stand up straight. So make sure it's a 90-degree angle first. So we get 13.2 inches times 13.2 inches. Now, at this moment, I'm going to tell you, hey, break this up. I have 13.2 times 13.2, and then I have inches times inches. Think about that for a second. What's 13.2 times 13.2? All right, it's going to be 174.24. Let's see if I'm right. 174.24. And what's inches times inches? Or what's x times x? X squared, so inches times inches is inches squared. There you go. Let's just do one more and we'll be done. While we do the last one right here, 4.2 times the base times the height. So area is equal to base times the height. So 4.2 times 4.2, and then feet times feet. So the area is equal to 17.64, and then x times x is x squared, so feet times feet is, all right, feet squared. All right, so how many little squares are inside this box right here? It's about a little more than 17 and a half. All right, let's go on. Now we're only going to do one of these because, we don't need to do every single one. So remember that the rectangle is a parallelogram, and the area of a parallelogram is base times the height. So remember, area is equal to base times the height. So let's do 14 right here. This is going to be area is equal to 2.4 yards times 0.9 yards. Now, normally I'd be like, hey, this is the base and this is the height, but commutative property says we can multiply it any which way, so it doesn't really matter as much. Make sure that this is the one that's going straight up to measure the height, and then just get a calculator and measure it. Well, not measure it, but calculate it. All right, let's go. All right, so 2.4 times 0.9 is going to give us 2.16. And yards times yards is yards squared, or 2.16 square yards. So there's a little over 2 of these squares inside here. I know it doesn't look like it, but there will be 2.16 little squares inside. Let's go on. So we've already been discussing this. The area of a parallelogram is, well, let's start off. It starts with a B. It's the base and height. So the area of a parallelogram is equal to base times the height. So all we need to do is figure out what the base is and then figure out what the height is. Now, this right here is called the slant height. We don't care about that yet. We'll talk about it later, but not now. Like if we were figuring out what the perimeter is, then yeah, but at the moment, no. So the area of this one would be 10 inches times 17 inches. So 10 times 17 is 170, and x times x is x squared. So inches times inches is inches squared. All right, well, let's go on. The final one right here is a triangle. Now, sometimes we might need to move things around to figure out what is the height. So for example, on this 20 right here, we're going to see, hey, look, this is the base, and then looking at it going straight up to the very top at a 90-degree angle is the height right here. We don't care about this slant height. So something that we might want to do is redraw it. So it looks like this. We're like, hey, look, it's going up. Here's the base. Here's the height times base times height. But wait, the area of a triangle is going to be 1/2. So the area of triangle equals 1/2 base times height, or 1/2 times by base times height. Now, why is this case? Because technically, a triangle is just half of a parallelogram. So we are getting half of the area of a parallelogram. That's it. So when we do this first one right here, we have the area is equal to 1/2 7 yards times 9.4 yards. So I know half of 94 will be 4.7. So I know that this and this equals 4.7. And then I'm going to multiply by 7, and yards times yards is yards squared. But now we get to the point of, hey, you should have just used a calculator, because you're not going to go 7 times that and get 49, and 7 times that is 28. You're not going to want to be able to, do that. Or if you do, you're going to want to check your work. So let's see if it's right. So I have 0.5 times 7 yards times 9.4. 32.9. But that's not the answer. It's 32.9 square yards. All right, guys. For your homework, you're going to go through and do the rest of these. Well, I do one more. How about this number 23 here? So this is going to be the area of this is equal to 1/2 the base, 9, times the height, the 90-degree angle all the way up to the top, times 4.5. But don't forget, it's in feet. So take out the calculator and go 0.5 times 9 times 4.5. And we get 20.25. So the area of this is equal to 20 1/4. But wait, what are we measuring when we're measuring area? We're measuring little what? Little boxes. So what are the size of these boxes? Square boxes. So this is in feet squared, or square feet. All right, guys. Pulled a fast one on you last time, but now this time we are done. Make sure you complete all these problems and turn them in tonight. Have a good one, guys. Bye.